Hi there, this is Dr. Dana Gibbs. I am a thyroid hormone expert. Welcome to the Tuesday Live. Today, we're going to be discussing two hormones that you need to know about that you don't need help to manage and that are actually even more important than thyroid. So, this is not meant to be medical advice, and you should consult your own physician for any medical issues or diagnoses that you may have. And today, what we're going to be talking about is it's part two of what I did last week. And I found out after I watched it that the slides did not show up. And actually, you couldn't see anything but black. So we are going to try this again. This is part two of two hormones that you need to know about that are even more important than thyroid. So let's get started. So last week, I talked a bit about stress, and I talked about cortisol and about the fact that stress leads to an elevation in your hormone cortisol. And the problem with that, cortisol is actually something that you need for survival. But the problem with cortisol is that it has all kinds of effects on your body when it is chronically elevated that are not actually very good for you. And so stress leads to elevations in that. And when you're chronically stressed, then your cortisol will be consistently higher than it should be. Now, lots of people know about testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. Those are not what I want to talk about today. So today, what I want to talk about is these last two, insulin and cortisol, and then we will spend some time on what high cortisol also does to your thyroid. So let's go on. So why does this happen? Well, we went into a lot of detail last week, and I will go back and re-record that with the slides because I was pretty happy with them, and I want you guys to see them. But anyway, when you have thoughts about the stressful environment that you're in, that causes your brain to release these hormones, which are ACTH, TSH, LH, and FSH. And when you have a lot of stress, your brain will primarily release ACTH, and it will kind of cut down or back off on these other stimulating hormones. And the first one that it cuts back down on is thyroid stimulating hormone, which doesn't then go to your thyroid and make as much thyroid hormone as you need to feel well. It also goes and cuts down on LH and FSH. What these two are is gonadotropins. Gonadotropins make you produce testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone for use by your body so that you actually feel really good. And so when you have too much ACTH, it feeds back and it cuts down on the production of these other two. And that's actually not the topic for today. That's actually what we talked about last week. So let's go on, because what happens when your ACTH is up and your cortisol is up is that the rest of these hormones and the rest of these conditions really kind of get hijacked. And so the first one and the most important one that I want to talk about today is something called insulin resistance. And what insulin resistance is that, so what it is a condition that happens in your body cells where they have to have more insulin in order to take up the sugar that is either released by your liver or stored in your glycogen or that you eat. And the reason that happens is because it wants to save all the sugar, all the glucose for the active working muscles, because your stress hormone is what's helping you survive. It's helping you run away from danger. It's helping you fight. And so the active working muscle doesn't actually need insulin. So the body tries to raise your glucose level so that your muscles will have more glucose. So the next thing that we talked about is that it decreases sex hormones. I kind of showed you that in the graphic. And then there's some other stuff that are not directly related to what it decreases. namely autoimmune disease, allergy, and some other conditions like indigestion, increases in cancer, increases in high blood pressure. High blood pressure also really makes sense as well because your blood pressure goes up when you're running away. Otherwise, you might pass out while you're running or fighting. Cancer and infections, the reason for that is because the high cortisol or cortisone is just like taking a steroid shot. It reduces inflammation in your body. But what it does by doing that is also knock down your immune system so that you then can't fight infections and cancer as well. And it also makes you predisposed to allergy and autoimmune disease. So I'm going to now drill in a little bit on some of the other stuff that it does when your cortisol is really high, because one of the things that it really does is because your brain is interpreting the high cortisol as a threat to your survival. Since one of the things that threatens your survival is starvation, thyroid hormone production is lower and function is blocked because your body is worried that you might actually burn up all your energy and not have any more. So what happens is that it lowers your metabolic set point by lowering, first of all, it lowers TSH. It lowers the amount of thyroid stimulating hormone that's released in your body. And then the second thing that it does, because it's worried about too much thyroid hormone, is it produces a blocker. It produces something called reverse T3. And if you've been listening to my lives for any length of time, you've heard me talk about reverse T3 because what that does is it goes into your body cells and it blocks off the receptor for thyroid hormone. And when it does that, even if it looks like on your blood labs that you have enough thyroid hormone in your body, particularly the T3, you don't actually because it's blocked at the level of the cells so that the thyroid hormone cannot activate the cells to grow and produce energy and do all the things. And so what you get is this pile of symptoms. You get exhaustion, you get sleep problems, you get the inability to maintain your body temperature, you get weight gain, constipation, obstructive sleep apnea, loss of hair, dry skin and hives, brittle nails, and a whole host of other thyroid symptoms that I've gone into in detail in other lives. The next thing that this hormone hijack, or I call it hormone hell sometimes, the next thing that this does is that it cuts off your supply of sex hormones. And this is not great because men need estrogen as well as testosterone. Women need testosterone as well as estrogen. And when you don't have both or either, then you don't feel well. All aside from your sexual performance, the overall result of losing these hormones is the loss of your vitality and your ability to perform. And it causes you to be depressed. It can increase your risk for sleep apnea. And truthfully, supplementing these hormones is really not the answer because the cortisol is staying high. And your body is smart and it's going to break those hormones down to make the balance that you need to survive. Because when you're in survival mode, your body is really not wanting you to reproduce because that sucks away your energy even worse. It also slows you down so that the tiger can get you, either when you're pregnant or when you have a little baby that you're trying to carry. And here's another thing. Progesterone is it's not only a sex hormone, but it is the precursor hormone for for cortisol and also for all of the other sex hormones. And so if progesterone is getting used up, making lots and lots of cortisol, then you can run out and not have enough to make all the other steroid hormones. And then you get all of these negative effects. And we'll just go into them really quick because that's a lot of fun. And that's why we're here. Maybe you're listening, not watching. So low testosterone results in low motivation, depression, low energy, loss of your muscle mass, sleep apnea, low libido, low sexual performance, and infertility. Low progesterone causes poor sleep. It can cause migraines, PMS symptoms, PMDD symptoms, as well as the loss of these other downstream hormones. Low estrogen, and remember, men and women need estrogen, causes insomnia, irritability, depression, difficulty concentrating, weak and brittle bones, inflexible blood vessels, increased heart risk, increased belly fat, low sexual receptivity, irregular periods, infertility, hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal atrophy, dry skin and hair. So many symptoms. All right. And then the next slide is actually the one that I really want to talk to you guys about today. This is the worst of all. This is the insulin resistance, and it is the most important one because it is really affecting all the other hormone systems. And two, because it is completely controllable by us, mostly just by what we eat and how we exercise. And so insulin resistance means that our cells need higher levels of insulin to take up all the carbs and glucose that we could consume or that's released by your liver. And if that persists because your stress is chronic instead of going away, then eventually it can overwhelm your pancreas because it's trying to make insulin all the time. And eventually it can't secrete enough and your blood sugars rise. And that is the definition of diabetes, which creates its own big list of damages, including neuropathies, blindness, kidney failure, amputations. But even before you get to that level, and even before you get to pre-diabetes, most of the problems that I have listed on this slide are being directly caused by the elevated insulin levels, even before you get to the pre-diabetes. And that includes the depression, the anxiety, heart disease, the deposition of plaques in your arteries, which can cause heart attacks and heart failure. It worsens your high blood pressure, increases obesity, increases the growth of cancers because insulin is a growth factor. And then actually, if it stays high, it actually drives your cortisol even higher because it is pro-inflammatory. High insulin is also obesity is actually the number one risk factor for sleep apnea. And then anyway, so it's a really rough thing. High cortisol, high insulin, low thyroid, sex hormones. These are all the end results of stress. And it really is hormone health. But a couple of other things can happen. And one of those is that if the stress gets really prolonged and your body runs out of the raw materials to make the cortisol hormone and you don't have enough, then what happens is that you manage your stress by bumping up adrenaline. And adrenaline, everybody knows what adrenaline is. Adrenaline is that sensation that you flush and that time slows down and all of a sudden your hearing is super sharp, like when you nearly get into a car accident or something like that. But adrenaline also speeds up your heart rate and causes chronic anxiety. And low cortisol reduces your ability to fight stress. It results in chronic fatigue, exhaustion, even after mild exercise, weakness, lowered pain tolerance and chronic pain, fainting, the inability to handle stress, and even worse, depression and emotional disturbances. And some of the stuff that are named diseases that have this low cortisol as a hallmark are chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, PTSD. And of course, these are really quite hard to deal with and a result of a dramatic amount of disability. So the overarching theme there is really the loss of the ability to handle stress. And the reason that happens is because your adrenal glands have basically run out of raw materials. So the adrenal hormones and all these hormones I've been talking about, except thyroid and insulin, are made from cholesterol. And when you use them, your body can really, and your adrenals in particular, can run out of the raw materials, which are specific minerals, vitamins, proteins, and even the cholesterol. And after a while, what happens is that your body can't even make a normal amount of those steroid precursors. And then finally, you might actually go in and your doctor measure that you have low cortisol levels. And that is a really bad sign, but the fix is pretty easy with some specific supplements that I recommend to my patients. Okay, so when do these symptoms tend to show up for people? Well, for some of us, if you've heard my story personally, it was in my 20s. For most people who have it, it's actually in their mid 30s. And what happens is if you talk to people who have these severe consequences in their mid 40s or later, they can often go back and pinpoint and say, you know what, I've had those symptoms since my early 30s. And what are you looking for? Well, food cravings, particularly sugar cravings or carb cravings, mood changes, bowel problems, indigestion, dry skin, hair loss, acne on the back and on your outside of your arms or on your chin, receding gums, sensitive teeth, frequent illness, weight gain in your belly. But it really is never too late to start taking better care of yourself. And here's an interesting thing, because for some women, they manage their stress very, very well and everything stays pretty much under control until they start getting close to menopause. And then as you go towards menopause, you start losing estrogen. And when you lose estrogen, that's another promoter of insulin resistance. And that is when all these symptoms start to emerge. Now, I am a huge proponent of hormone replacement in perimenopause and menopause, but that doesn't mean that the measures that I'm going to discuss next week when we get into part 3 aren't necessary. So next week, I am going to go into all of the health problems and what to do about them. And one of the things that I really want to promote to you guys is a program that I'm getting ready to do that I'm going to call the CGM experiment. And a CGM is a continuous glucose monitor. And a continuous glucose monitor is a great way to figure out, without a whole bunch of lab tests, whether you're starting to have insulin resistance or not. Because insulin resistance is something that you can absolutely, like I said, you can absolutely control it with diet and exercise. And so this continuous glucose monitor, which is a really cool thing, what it does is it's something you wear, you put it on your skin and you wear it for 2 weeks at a time. And it tells you in real time exactly where your blood sugars are. And what you can find is that your average blood sugar may stay right on the level, right on track, and be pretty normal most of the time. And then you notice, oh, well, I ate a piece of chocolate, and watch your blood sugar rise and then fall again. And you can tell by that rise and that fall and how high it goes, whether you have this insulin resistance or not. Or you can look at your blood sugar and go, oh, wow, I'm going to exercise. Let's see what happens. And tell what kind of exercise helps lower your blood sugar. You can tell whether drinking alcohol does something to your blood sugar. You can tell whether missing a couple of hours of sleep helps. And one of the cool things that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 4 to 5 week program where everybody in the program is going to wear a CGM. We're going to keep a journal. We're going to compare notes, and I'll show you, first of all, exactly how to do the device. I'll help you get the device, and then I'll start you on your journal. I'll have lots of great advice on shopping apps and recipes and what to try eating and what to try not eating and all kinds of cool stuff. So it's going to be really fun. Now, next week on the 5:30 Live, we're going to go into some of the 4 pillars of excellent health and talk to you about what specific kinds of things you can do to help yourself manage your stress, to keep it low, and also manage your high insulin levels. So that's it for today. I'm Dana Gibbs. I'm an integrative physician in North Texas. I'm a thyroid, hormone, and Hashimoto's expert. And I'll help you learn things that other hormone imbalances about thyroid and other hormone imbalances that your doctor may not even know. So come visit my website, danagibbsmd.com, sign up for my email list with this code, and get notified when we start the CGM experience, because I'm going to open the doors to that in about 10 days. All right, guys, have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.